The message arrived on a Tuesday morning when Park Jin-woo was drinking his third cup of coffee. The holographic display flickered to life in his Seoul office, showing a creature that looked like a cross between a lion and a tree. Its voice sounded like wind through metal pipes. "Greetings, humans of Earth," the alien said. "I am Speaker Vorth of the Galactic Sports Council. Your species has been invited to participate in the greatest sporting event in known space, the Sphere Wars tournament." Jin-woo nearly choked on his coffee. As Earth's coordinator for international sports events, he had dealt with many strange requests, but never from aliens. The creature continued speaking while Jin-woo frantically pressed the record button. "The tournament happens every 50 Earth years. Warriors from across the galaxy compete in single combat within our zero-gravity arenas. The winner brings great honor to their species and gains a voice in galactic affairs." The hologram showed images of massive spherical arenas floating in space. Inside them, incredible beings fought with energy weapons and supernatural abilities. Jin-woo watched a lizard-like creature regrow its severed arm in seconds, while a being made of pure crystal phased in and out of reality. "Your species has 30 Earth days to decide," Speaker Vorth said. "Send one warrior. Choose wisely, for failure brings shame to all humanity." The message ended. Jin-woo sat in silence for 5 minutes, then started making phone calls. Within hours, every major government on Earth knew about the invitation. Emergency meetings were called. Scientists studied the message for signs of fakery and found none. Military leaders debated whether this was a threat or opportunity. Politicians argued about who would represent Earth. Jin-woo found himself at the center of it all. His phone never stopped ringing. Reporters camped outside his building. World leaders wanted his advice on something he knew nothing about. 3 days later, he sat in a conference room with Earth's smartest people. General Morrison from the U.S. military was there, along with Dr. Petrov from Russia's space program and Professor Chen from Beijing University. But the person Jin-woo found most interesting was Kim So-ra, a sports psychologist from Busan. "We need our strongest fighter," General Morrison said, hitting the table, "enhanced with our best technology. Cybernetic implants, genetic modifications, performance drugs, everything we have." "That's insane," Dr. Petrov replied. "Did you see those aliens? One of them was made of living metal. Another could breathe fire. Our strongest human enhanced with everything we have would still be like a child fighting giants." "Then what do you suggest?" General Morrison asked. Kim So-ra cleared her throat. She was small and quiet, but when she spoke, everyone listened. "I've been studying the footage. Every species sends one individual. They fight alone, win alone, die alone. That's how the tournament works," Professor Chen said. "But is it?" So-ra asked. She pulled up the official rules on her tablet. "Listen to this. Each species may register their chosen representative or representatives to compete in the Sphere Wars." Representatives, plural. Everyone stared at the screen. Jin-woo read the rule again. It did say representatives. "No species has ever sent more than one fighter," General Morrison said. "Because they don't need to," So-ra replied. "They have individuals who can fight gods. We don't, but we have something they don't seem to have." "What's that?" Jin-woo asked. "Each other." The room went quiet. So-ra stood up and walked to the whiteboard. She drew 5 stick figures holding hands. "Humans are weak individually," she said. "But when we work together, we become something greater than the sum of our parts. We built cities, flew to the moon, created the internet, all through teamwork. You want to send a team to an individual combat tournament?" Dr. Petrov sounded skeptical. "I want to send 5 humans who can think as one," So-ra said. 5 bodies, 1 mind. The rules allow it," General Morrison laughed. "The aliens will think we're weak, that we couldn't find one good fighter." "Let them think that," So-ra said with a smile. "It will be their mistake." 2 weeks of arguments followed. Military leaders wanted to send a super soldier. Scientists wanted to send someone enhanced with alien technology they didn't understand. Politicians wanted to send someone who could negotiate if things went badly. But Jin-woo kept thinking about So-ra's words. He had spent his career organizing team sports. He had seen average athletes become champions when they worked together perfectly. He had also seen incredible individual athletes fail when they tried to do everything alone. Finally, Earth's leaders made their decision. They would send a team. Kim So-ra would select 5 people who could work together better than any group in human history. She chose carefully. Lee Tae-ho had been South Korea's best soccer midfielder before an injury ended his career. He could read a game like a computer, always knowing where everyone should be. Choi Mina was a basketball point guard who could make split-second decisions under pressure. Yoon Jae-sung was a military strategist who could plan complex operations in his head. Han Yu-jin was a gymnast with perfect body control and spatial awareness. Nam Bora was an ice hockey player who understood the psychology of team sports. None of them were the strongest or fastest humans alive. But when they practiced together, something magical happened. They began to move like one person with 5 bodies. They could communicate with looks and gestures. They anticipated each other's moves perfectly. The alien ship arrived to collect Earth's representatives on schedule. It was beautiful and terrifying, a crystalline structure the size of a city that bent space around itself. Speaker Vorth greeted them at the airlock, looking surprised to see 5 humans instead of 1. "This is unusual," the alien said, its tree-like branches rustling. "Most species send their greatest individual warrior." "We are our greatest warriors," Jinwoo replied. "All of us." The journey to the tournament site took 3 days. During that time, the human team met other contestants. Thorak the Undefeated was a 8-foot-tall warrior, whose people had conquered half their galaxy through individual strength. His skin was like metal armor and his eyes glowed with inner fire. He looked at the humans like they were insects. Prime Unit 7 of the Nexari was more machine than living being. Its body was covered in mechanical parts that could reshape themselves instantly. It calculated every possible move before making it. It spoke to the humans only once, saying their probability of survival was less than 1%. Crystal Mind Zephron was stranger still. The Eternal's body looked like living gemstone that shifted between dimensions. Sometimes it was solid, sometimes it was just light. It didn't speak to anyone, considering all other life forms too primitive to notice. The humans watched and learned. They saw that every other contestant was focused entirely on individual perfection. Each one believed they were the ultimate expression of their species' evolution. "They're all alone," Choi Mina whispered to her teammates as they watched the contestants practice. "That's their weakness," Yoon Jae-sung replied. When they arrived at the tournament station, Jinwoo was amazed. It was larger than Earth's moon, built inside an artificial star. Billions of beings from across the galaxy had come to watch. The opening ceremony was a display of power that made Earth's Olympics look like a children's game. Each species presented their warrior with pride. The Saurons showed how their champion could regrow any body part in seconds. The Nexari demonstrated their fighters' ability to process millions of combat calculations instantly. The Eternals revealed their warrior's power to exist in multiple dimensions at once. When Earth's turn came, the 5 humans walked out together. The galaxy's audience was silent for a moment, then began to laugh. The alien commentators could barely contain their amusement. "It appears the humans could not decide on a single representative," announced Vextar, the Nexari broadcaster. "Perhaps they hope that quantity will compensate for their obvious individual inadequacy." Jinwoo watched from the observation deck as his team entered the arena for their first match. They looked so small compared to the alien warriors, so fragile, so human. But as they took their positions, something happened that the galaxy had never seen before. The 5 humans moved in perfect unity, their individual weaknesses disappearing into collective strength. The tournament was about to begin, and humanity was about to teach the galaxy what real power looked like. The arena was a perfect sphere 300 meters across, floating in the void of space. Transparent walls allowed billions of spectators to watch from every angle. Inside, platforms of different sizes floated at random intervals connected by nothing but empty space. Energy weapons hung in the air, waiting to be grabbed. Obstacles shifted and moved according to patterns only the arena's computer knew. Crystal Mind Zephron entered from the opposite side of the sphere. The Eternal Warrior moved like liquid light, its crystalline body shifting between solid and transparent. Sometimes it looked like a statue made of diamonds. Other times it was just a glowing outline that seemed to exist in several places at once. The 5 humans huddled together on their platform. They looked tiny compared to their opponent, like children who had wandered into an adult's game. The galaxy's audience whispered and laughed. Some aliens were already placing bets on how quickly the humans would lose. "Remember the plan," Yoon Jae-sung whispered to his teammates. "Tae-ho draws first contact. Mina provides support fire. Yu-jin gets to the high platforms. Bora flanks from below. eye coordinate. They had practiced this 1,000 times on Earth, but the real arena was different. Gravity shifted randomly. The air was thinner. The energy weapons felt strange in their hands. Everything was designed to confuse and disorient fighters who weren't used to three-dimensional combat. A horn sounded across the galaxy, announcing the start of the match. Crystal Mind Zephron immediately phased out of normal space. Its body became translucent, like looking at something underwater. Energy weapons passed through it harmlessly. Physical attacks couldn't touch it, but while phased, it could still launch crystalline projectiles that were very real and very deadly. Lee Taeho grabbed the nearest energy rifle and started shooting, but his blasts went right through the Eternal Warrior. A crystal spike materialized next to his head, missing by inches. He dove behind a floating platform as more spikes appeared around him. "It's like fighting a ghost," he shouted. Choi Mina tried to help, but her shots also passed through their opponent. The Eternal could attack them, but they couldn't attack back. It was an impossible situation. "Jae-sung, we need a new plan," she called out, but Yoon Jae-sung was already thinking. He had studied every piece of footage they had of Eternal Warriors. Phasing between dimensions took enormous energy. The ability had limits. How long can it stay phased? He shouted to his team. "Unknown." Han Yujin replied, leaping between platforms to avoid another crystal barrage. "But it has to become solid to rest." "Then we make it work harder," Jae-sung decided. "Spread out. Make it track 5 targets instead of 1. The humans scattered across the arena. Now Crystal Mind Zephron had to aim at 5 different positions, phase in and out more rapidly, and use more energy with each attack. The Eternal Warrior was efficient, but even gods had limits. 3 minutes into the fight, Lee Taeho made a mistake. He zigged when he should have zagged, and a crystal spike caught him in the shoulder. The impact spun him around and slammed him into a platform. Blood floated in droplets around his wound. The alien audience cheered. First blood to the Eternal Warrior as expected, but something strange happened next. Instead of panicking or retreating, the other 4 humans moved closer together. They began to communicate in rapid, coded phrases that they had developed during training. "Blue 7, ascending," Choi Mina said, confirmed. "Support pattern 3, Nambora replied. "Window opening in 15 seconds, Yoon Jae-sung added. Crystal Mind Zephron paused, confused by their behavior. Most species would retreat after one member was injured. These humans were doing the opposite. Han Yujin suddenly launched himself from the highest platform, spinning through the air with gymnastic precision. As he flew, Nambora and Choi Mina created a crossfire pattern that forced the Eternal Warrior to phase repeatedly in rapid succession. Yoon Jae-sung had been counting. 15 seconds of continuous phasing. 16. 17. At 18 seconds, Crystal Mind Zephron flickered back into solid form, needing a moment to recover energy. That moment was all Han Yujin needed. He couldn't hurt the Eternal Warrior directly, but he could grab one of the floating energy weapons and throw it with perfect accuracy at exactly the right angle. The weapon struck a moving platform, which triggered a chain reaction of collisions that changed the entire geometry of the arena. Crystal Mind Zephron found itself surrounded by platforms and obstacles in a configuration that hadn't existed seconds before. For the first time in the match, it had to move defensively instead of offensively. "Now!" Jae-sung shouted. The humans executed a maneuver they had practiced 10,000 times. Taeho, despite his injury, provided covering fire from his position. Mina and Bora created a pincer movement that forced the Eternal Warrior into a predicted position. Yujin dropped from above with a close-range energy weapon. For one perfect moment, all 5 humans moved as a single organism. Their individual actions combined into something greater than any of them could achieve alone. Crystal Mind Zephron barely escaped, phasing out just as Yujin's weapon fired. But the effort cost it dearly. The Eternal Warrior was now breathing heavily, its crystalline body flickering with exhaustion. The alien audience had stopped laughing. Dr. Kira Zenth, a xenobiologist from the Altair system, leaned forward in her observation seat. She had come to the tournament to study different species' combat techniques, but the humans were showing her something she had never seen before. "Fascinating," she whispered, making notes on her tablet. "They're not 5 individuals fighting together. They're one organism with 5 bodies." The match continued for 12 more minutes. Crystal Mind Zephron was more powerful, faster, and had abilities that seemed godlike compared to human limitations. But the humans had something the Eternal Warrior couldn't understand or counter: perfect unity of purpose. Every time one human was threatened, the other four adapted instantly to protect them. Every time the Eternal Warrior found an advantage, the humans created a new tactical situation that negated it. They were like water flowing around a stone, always finding a way through. In the end, Crystal Mind Zephron won. It managed to pin down all 5 humans simultaneously and force their surrender. But the victory took everything the Eternal Warrior had. It collapsed onto a platform afterward, its crystalline body dim with exhaustion. The match had lasted 15 minutes and 37 seconds. Crystal Mind Zephron had never fought for longer than 2 minutes before. No opponent had ever forced it to use its maximum power for sustained periods. As the humans were helped from the arena, the galactic audience sat in stunned silence. They had expected to see the humans destroyed in seconds. Instead, they had watched 5 weak individuals nearly defeat one of the most powerful warriors in known space. Jin Woo met his team at the medical station. Lee Taeho's shoulder was bandaged and everyone looked exhausted, but they were smiling. "We lost," Taeho said. "No," Jin Woo replied, looking at the replay screens around them. "You just taught the galaxy something new." On the screens, alien commentators were analyzing the match over and over, trying to understand what they had witnessed. Some called it impossible. Others called it unprecedented. Vextar, the Nexari broadcaster, was speaking rapidly into his microphone. The humans demonstrated what this observer can only describe as collective tactical consciousness. They functioned as a single strategic entity while maintaining individual initiative and adaptability. In her private booth, Dr. Zenth was making more notes. The humans had lost, but they had revealed something about themselves that would change how the galaxy viewed their species forever. Crystal Mind Zephron, still recovering on its platform, sent a telepathic message to the tournament organizers. It was the first time an Eternal Warrior had ever made such a request after a match. "I wish to study these humans further," the message said. "They fight with a form of unity I have never encountered. They are worthy of respect." Back in the medical station, Kim So-ra was watching the replay with intense focus. She had designed the team's training program, but seeing it work against an alien opponent exceeded her wildest hopes. "They're starting to understand," she told Jinwoo quietly. "The galaxy is beginning to realize that individual strength isn't the only kind of power." The next match was still hours away, but word was already spreading throughout the tournament station. The humans were not what anyone had expected. They were something new, something the galaxy had never seen before, and they were just getting started. Dr. Kira Zenth couldn't sleep. She had been studying combat sports across the galaxy for 30 years, but the human match replayed in her mind like a puzzle she couldn't solve. She sat in her research lab aboard the tournament station, surrounded by screens showing footage from every angle. "Computer, analyze human movement patterns from match 1, she said. The artificial intelligence processed the data for several minutes before responding. Unable to categorize, human subjects demonstrate individual decision-making combined with group consciousness. This combination does not exist in current xenobiology databases. Kira leaned back in her chair. In her experience, species either fought as individuals or as a hive mind. The humans seemed to be doing both at the same time. 3 days later, the humans faced their second opponent. Flesh-render Korth of the Sauron stood 9 feet tall and weighed as much as a small vehicle. His reptilian skin was covered in natural armor plates, and his claws could cut through solid metal, but his most terrifying ability was regeneration. He could regrow any lost body part in seconds. The Sauron champion entered the arena with confident, heavy steps that shook the floating platforms. He had fought in 17 tournaments and never lost a single match. His strategy was simple: absorb damage while dealing devastating counterattacks. Eventually, his opponents would tire or make mistakes, and he would finish them. "Remember," Yoon Jae-sung told his team, "regeneration requires energy. Make him work for every heal." Lee Taeho's shoulder was still sore from the previous match, but he moved to his position without complaint. The team had studied every second of footage they could find on Sauron physiology. They had a plan. The match began with Flesh-render Korth charging directly at the human's starting position. Most opponents ran away from him, but the humans did something unexpected. They ran toward him. Lee Taeho met the Sauron head-on. firing his energy weapon at point-blank range. The blast tore through Korth's left arm, severing it completely. The Sauron roared in pain and anger, then watched his arm grow back in 5 seconds. Foolish human, Korth growled, swinging his newly regenerated claws. You cannot win by damaging what I can instantly replace. But Taeho was already moving, diving under the attack while Choi Minna opened fire from a different angle. Her shots took off 3 of Korth's fingers. He regenerated them immediately, but now he was fighting on 2 fronts. Han Yu-jin dropped from above, aiming for Korth's eyes. The Sauron caught him with one massive hand and prepared to crush the small human. But Nam Bora slammed into Korth's knee from the side, causing him to stumble and drop Yu-jin. As Yu-jin fell, he fired a close-range blast that burned a hole through Korth's chest. The Sauron's torso began rebuilding itself immediately, but the process required enormous energy. Interesting, Dr. Zenth murmured from her observation post. They're not trying to prevent regeneration. They're forcing it to happen continuously. Yoon Jae-sung had calculated everything precisely. Each regeneration required the Sauron to convert stored body fat into new tissue. Force enough regenerations quickly enough, and even flesh-render Korth would run out of energy. The humans attacked in waves, never giving their opponent time to rest. When one human needed to reload or reposition, another immediately took their place. They rotated through attack patterns like players in a basketball game, keeping constant pressure on their target. Korth grew more frustrated with each exchange. He was used to opponents who fought him one-on-one, testing their individual strength against his. These humans refused to engage him fairly. They struck from every direction, disappeared when he counterattacked, and reappeared to strike again. Cowards, he roared, regenerating his tail for the 8th time. Fight me with honor. But the humans weren't interested in honor as the Saurons defined it. They were interested in winning. 15 minutes into the match, flesh-render Korth began to slow down. His regeneration was taking longer. His movements became less precise. The constant energy drain was finally affecting him. That's when the humans revealed their true strategy. Lee Tae-ho deliberately let Korth grab his left arm. The Sauron's claws sliced cleanly through bone and muscle, severing the limb completely. The human screamed in pain and fell to his knees, clutching the bleeding stump. Korth smiled, expecting the human to retreat or surrender. Instead, he watched in confusion as the other 4 humans continued their attack with even greater intensity. Your teammate is maimed, Korth shouted. Surrender now and save him further pain. He knew what he was doing, Yoon Jae-sung replied, directing Nam Bora to attack from the left flank. Unlike you, we understand sacrifice. Taeho had deliberately sacrificed his arm because Jae-sung calculated that Korth would expect humans to regenerate like Saurons. When the arm didn't grow back, the Sauron would be confused and distracted, wondering why the human was still fighting. That moment of confusion was all they needed. While Korth stared at Taeho's permanent injury, trying to understand why the human wasn't healing, Choi Minna and Nam Bora executed a pincer maneuver that forced the Sauron into a position where Han Yu-jin could deliver a precise strike to the base of his skull. The blow didn't kill flesh-render Korth, but it disrupted his nervous system enough to make regeneration impossible for several crucial seconds. In that window, all 4 remaining humans concentrated their fire on his center mass. The Sauron champion collapsed, not from his injuries, but from complete energy exhaustion. His body tried to regenerate multiple wounds simultaneously and simply ran out of fuel. The arena fell silent. Then slowly, scattered applause began from the Altarian section of the audience. Dr. Zenth was clapping, a huge smile on her face. Brilliant, she whispered. Absolutely brilliant. In the medical bay afterward, doctors worked to save Taeho's arm using advanced alien technology. The procedure would take hours, but the limb could be reattached. Jinwoo sat beside his injured athlete, feeling guilty for putting him in danger. Was it worth it? Jinwoo asked. Taeho looked at the tournament brackets displayed on the wall screen. The humans had advanced to the next round. Species throughout the galaxy were requesting footage of their matches. Alien commentators were debating whether humanity represented a new form of warfare. Ask me again when this is over, Taeho said with a weak smile. Kim Sora joined them in the medical bay, carrying her tablet full of notes. The psychological profiles are changing, she reported. Other contestants are starting to study our techniques. They're adapting. Good, Jinwoo replied. That means they're learning. But so are we, Sora added. Every match teaches us more about how to work together under pressure. On the main tournament broadcast, Fagstar the Nixari commentator was struggling to explain what viewers had witnessed. This observer must revise previous assessments of human combat capability, he announced. Their tactical approach transcends traditional individual versus individual paradigms. They have introduced a new variable into tournament dynamics. Prime Unit 7, watching from its private chamber, processed the match data with mechanical precision. The Nixari warrior had been programmed to counter every known form of combat, but the humans were creating new forms in real time. Adaptation required, it calculated. Human collective consciousness represents unprecedented challenge. Thorak the Undefeated was also watching, but his reaction was different. The Valkorian warrior felt something he hadn't experienced in centuries: curiosity. These humans fought with a unity that his people, for all their strength, had never achieved. Interesting opponents, he rumbled to himself. Perhaps this tournament will not be boring after all. Dr. Zenth published her preliminary findings that night. Her report sent shockwaves through the scientific community. The humans demonstrate what can only be described as voluntary collective consciousness, she wrote. They retain individual identity and decision-making capability, while sharing tactical awareness in real time. This represents a new form of sapient evolution. Her report was downloaded millions of times within hours. Universities across the galaxy requested permission to study the human team. The tournament had become something larger than a sporting event. It was now a window into a new kind of consciousness. Back on Earth, billions of people watched the matches with growing pride and amazement. Their representatives weren't the strongest or fastest warriors in the galaxy, but they were proving that humanity had something unique to offer the cosmic community. The humans were scheduled to fight again in 2 days. Their next opponent would be determined by the outcome of other matches, but it didn't matter who they faced. They had already changed the tournament forever. What mattered now was how far they could push their advantage before the galaxy figured out how to counter it. The emergency session of the Galactic Sports Council convened at midnight station time. Council Prime Xerion, a being of pure energy contained within a crystalline shell, floated at the head of the assembly. Around the circular chamber, representatives from 37 species argued in dozens of languages about what the humans meant for the future of the tournament. They make a mockery of individual combat, roared Ambassador Thrak of the Valkorians. 5 against 1 is not honorable warfare. The rules specifically allow multiple representatives, replied Dr. Zenth, who had been invited as an expert witness. No law has been broken. The spirit of the law has been violated, hissed Prime Diplomat Vexran of the Nixari. This tournament has celebrated individual excellence for 3,000 years. These humans corrupt its very purpose. Council Prime Xerion pulsed with different colors as it processed the arguments. Dr. Zenth, explain to the Council what you have observed about human combat methods. Kira Zenth activated her holographic display, showing footage from both human matches. Honorable Councilors, what we are witnessing is not simply teamwork. It is the emergence of a collective consciousness that operates without sacrificing individual identity. She highlighted specific moments in the battles. Notice how they communicate through subtle gestures and positioning. They anticipate each other's actions with precision that exceeds even our best military units. Yet each human retains independent thought and creative problem-solving. Impossible, stated Prime Unit 7's handler. Our analysis indicates that true collective consciousness requires the surrender of individual will. The humans cannot be both individual and collective simultaneously. Yet they are, Dr. Zenth replied, and that is what makes them remarkable. While the council debated, the human team was preparing for their semi-final match against Prime Unit 7. The Nixari warrior had defeated its previous opponents in an average of 43 seconds each. Its cybernetic body could adapt to any fighting style, calculate optimal strategies instantly, and execute movements with mechanical perfection. In their preparation chamber, the humans sat in a circle with their eyes closed. Kim Sora had taught them this meditation technique, a way to synchronize their thoughts and reactions. To outside observers, it looked like they were sleeping. In reality, they were becoming something greater than 5 separate people. I can feel the machine's patterns, Yoon Jae-sung said quietly, his eyes still closed. It thinks in algorithms, predictable sequences. It will adapt to whatever we show it first, Choimina added. So we show it what we want it to see. Then we become something else entirely, finished Han Yu-jin. Lee Tae-ho flexed his reattached arm. The alien medical technology had restored full function, but he could feel the difference. The arm was stronger now, enhanced with synthetic muscles that made it slightly faster than his original limb. Are we still human? He asked, looking at his enhanced appendage. We're what humans can become, Nambora replied. Better together than apart. The arena configuration for the semi-final was different. Smaller platforms, more obstacles, and weapons that changed type every few minutes. It was designed to test adaptability, something Prime Unit 7 excelled at. The Nexari warrior entered like a silver spider, its multiple limbs moving with hydraulic precision. Sensors covered its body, analyzing everything in its environment. Its central processor was already calculating millions of combat scenarios based on the human's previous matches. Probability of victory, 97.4%, Prime Unit 7 announced in a voice like grinding metal. Human tactical patterns have been analyzed and countered. The match began and the humans immediately implemented their first deception. They attacked using the same patterns they had shown against Crystal Mind Zephron, spreading out, creating crossfires, forcing their opponent to track multiple targets. Prime Unit 7 adapted instantly, just as they expected. Its limbs reconfigured into new shapes. Its movement patterns shifted, and it began countering every technique the humans had previously used. For 3 minutes, the mechanical warrior dominated the fight. It predicted every human move, blocked every attack, and steadily drove them toward defeat. Its probability calculations climbed to 99.8% victory. Then the humans stopped being what they had been before. In perfect unison, they shifted to a completely new fighting style. Instead of 5 individuals supporting each other, they became 5 parts of a single organism. Their movements flowed together like a dance, each person's actions complementing the others in ways that created entirely new tactical possibilities. Prime Unit 7's processors overloaded trying to analyze the new patterns. Its programming contained data on every known form of combat, but this wasn't in its files. The humans weren't fighting as individuals or as a hive mind. They were fighting as something that had no name in galactic databases. Error, Prime Unit 7 announced, its voice showing the first signs of uncertainty. Combat pattern unrecognizable, recalculating, but there was nothing to recalculate. The humans weren't using a pattern. They were improvising collectively, creating new tactics in real time based on their shared consciousness. Lee Tae-ho became the tip of a spear, with the other 4 humans forming the shaft behind him. When Prime Unit 7 moved to counter this formation, they flowed into something completely different, a web of interlocking movements that attacked from impossible angles. The mechanical warrior's greatest strength became its weakness. It had been programmed to be the perfect individual, but it couldn't understand how to fight an opponent that was both 1 and 5 simultaneously. Probability calculations becoming unreliable, Prime Unit 7 reported to its handlers. Human behavior exceeds programmed parameters. Dr. Zenth watched from her observation post, tears in her eyes. They're not just working together, she whispered. They're transcending the limitations of individual consciousness while maintaining their humanity. The turning point came when Prime Unit 7 focused all its attention on what it calculated to be the humans' tactical coordinator, Yoon Jae-sung. The machine warrior launched a devastating attack designed to eliminate the human's strategic center. But the humans had no strategic center. When Jae-sung was forced to focus on defense, Choi Min-ah seamlessly took over tactical coordination. When she was pressed, Lee Tae-ho assumed the role. Leadership flowed between them like water, impossible to pin down or eliminate. Prime Unit 7's programming couldn't comprehend this. It had been designed to counter every form of leadership structure in galactic civilization, but the humans had no structure. They were pure adaptation. The end came suddenly. While Prime Unit 7 was recalculating its approach for the 100th time, Nambora made a decision that the machine couldn't predict because it defied logical analysis. She threw herself directly at the mechanical warrior, accepting certain injury to create an opening for her teammates. Prime Unit 7 calculated that her action was tactically unsound and ignored it as a mistake. But the other 4 humans instantly recognized the sacrifice and moved to exploit the opportunity Bora had created with her body. In the space of 3 seconds, they executed a maneuver that required perfect trust, timing, and shared purpose. Han Yujin used Bora's falling body as a springboard. Taeho provided covering fire that forced Prime Unit 7 into a specific position. Minna delivered a precision strike to its central processor, and Jae-sung coordinated the entire sequence while engaging backup systems. Prime Unit 7 shut down, its mechanical perfection overcome by something it couldn't calculate: the willingness of individuals to sacrifice for the group. In the aftermath, as medics treated Namboro's injuries, the galactic audience sat in stunned silence. The mechanical marvel that had never lost a fight had been defeated by 5 humans who shouldn't have been able to challenge it. Jinwoo found his team in the medical bay, exhausted but victorious. Nambora's ribs were cracked, but she was conscious and smiling. "Did we do it?" she asked weakly. "You made it to the finals," Jinwoo replied. "Against Thorak the Undefeated." The team looked at each other. They had come further than anyone expected, defeated opponents who should have been impossible for humans to beat. But Thorak was different. He was 3 centuries of pure combat experience wrapped in nearly indestructible flesh. "One more match," Lee Taeho said. "One more chance to show the galaxy what we are," added Choi Min-ah Kim. Sora entered the medical bay carrying news that would change everything. "The council just voted," she announced. "They're not changing the rules. They're declaring that humanity has introduced a new category of competition." She showed them her tablet. The official statement read, "The Galactic Sports Council recognizes that the human team has demonstrated a form of consciousness and cooperation previously unknown in galactic civilization. Their methods, while unprecedented, do not violate tournament regulations and represent a significant advancement in sapient evolution." Dr. Zenth's final report had convinced them. Humanity wasn't breaking the rules. They were writing new ones. The galaxy was about to witness something that had never happened before: the meeting of individual perfection and collective consciousness, with the future of both hanging in the balance. The final arena was different from all the others. Twice the size, with platforms that shifted in complex patterns and weapons that adapted to their users. It was designed to showcase the ultimate expression of individual warrior craft. For 300 years, champions had entered this space alone to claim victory or die in honor. Today, 5 humans entered together. Thorak the Undefeated stood on the opposite platform, 8 feet of living weapon wrapped in metal-hard skin. His people, the Valkorians, had conquered 17 star systems through individual strength. He had personally led those conquests, never losing a single combat in 3 centuries of warfare. But as he watched the humans take their positions, something stirred in his ancient memory. He had seen warriors work together before, but not like this. These 5 moved with unity that reminded him of something from his people's distant past. "You have surprised the galaxy," Thorak called across the arena, his voice carrying respect instead of mockery. "But I am not the galaxy. I am the end of all challenges." Lee Taeho, standing at the front of his team, nodded with equal respect. "We know what you are. We've studied every battle you've ever fought." "Then you know you cannot win," Thorak replied. "We know we can't win the way others have tried," Taeho answered. "But we're not others." The arena filled with the largest audience in tournament history. Every species that had ever participated was represented. Ships surrounded the tournament station in formations that stretched beyond the horizon. This wasn't just a sporting event anymore. It was a moment that would define how the galaxy understood strength itself. Dr. Zenth sat in the front row of the scientific observation section, her fingers trembling with excitement. Beside her, representatives from universities across known space watched with recording equipment that would analyze every microsecond of the coming battle. The starting horn sounded. Thorak began with the strategy that had never failed him, a direct assault designed to eliminate the weakest opponent first. He launched himself across the arena with enough force to crack the platform he left behind, heading straight for Han Yujin. But the humans didn't react as individuals. They moved as one organism with 5 bodies. As Thorak flew through the air, the humans flowed around his trajectory like water around a stone. Yujin wasn't where the Valkorian expected to find him. Instead, all 5 humans were in positions that turned Thorak's strength into a disadvantage. He landed on an empty platform, and immediately found himself surrounded. Not trapped. Thorak was too skilled to be trapped, but engaged simultaneously from 5 directions by opponents who moved in perfect harmony. Impossible, whispered Ambassador Thrak from the Valkorian observation box. No being can fight 5 opponents at once, not even Thorak. But Thorak wasn't fighting 5 opponents. He was fighting something the galaxy had never seen before. A single consciousness that happened to exist in 5 bodies. When he turned to face Lee Taeho's energy weapon, Choi Minna was already moving to his blind spot. When he spun to counter her attack, Nam Bora was there with a flanking maneuver. Every time he adapted to one threat, the humans created 2 new ones. For the first time in 3 centuries, Thorak the Undefeated was being pressed to his limits. They're not 5 warriors working together, Dr. Zenth said into her recorder. They're 1 warrior with 5 bodies. Thorak is fighting the equivalent of a being with 5 times normal spatial awareness, 5 times normal tactical processing, and 5 times normal adaptability. The battle intensified. Thorak's experience began to show as he developed counters to the humans' collective movement. He started attacking the spaces between them, forcing them to choose between maintaining formation and avoiding damage. But every time he gained an advantage, the humans adapted. When he disrupted their formation, they created a new one. When he forced them apart, they used the separation to attack from unexpected angles. They were learning and evolving their collective consciousness in real time. 10 minutes into the fight, something extraordinary happened. Thorak began to smile. "You fight with honor," he called out, blocking an energy blast from Yoon Jae-sung, while simultaneously deflecting an attack from Nam Bora. "You have shown me something I thought was lost forever." "What's that?" Lee Taeho asked, narrowly avoiding a strike that would have ended the match. "The strength that comes from trust," Thorak replied. The Valkorian warrior's movements began to change. Instead of fighting to defeat the humans quickly, he started fighting to understand them. His attacks became more defensive, more analytical. He was studying their collective consciousness the way a scholar studies an ancient text. "He's not trying to win anymore," Kim So-ra observed from her position beside Jin Woo. "He's trying to learn." She was right. Thorak had realized that this match was about more than victory. The humans had introduced something new to the galaxy, and he wanted to understand what that meant. The turning point came when Nam Bora made a decision that shocked everyone watching. Instead of avoiding Thorak's next attack, she stepped directly into it, accepting a devastating blow that sent her crashing into the arena wall. But her sacrifice wasn't meaningless. In the split second that Thorak was committed to his attack on Bora, the other 4 humans moved with perfect coordination to surround him completely. They could have ended the match right then. 4 energy weapons at point-blank range against an opponent who was temporarily off balance. Victory was within their grasp. Instead, they stopped. "We yield," Lee Taeho announced. The arena fell completely silent. Even the background hum of the station's life support system seemed to pause. "What?" Thorak looked around in confusion. "You have the advantage. Why do you surrender?" "Because winning isn't why we're here," Taeho replied. Yoon Jae-sung stepped forward. "We came to show the galaxy what humans can do when we work together." "We've done that, but the tournament," Thorak began, "is yours," Choi Minna finished. "You've earned it through 3 centuries of honor. We've earned something else." Han Yu-jin helped Nam Bora to her feet. Despite her injuries, she was smiling. "We've earned respect." Thorak stood in the center of the arena, surrounded by 5 humans who had just given him victory when they could have taken it for themselves. In 300 years of combat, he had never experienced anything like this. Slowly, the ancient warrior knelt on one knee. "I yield," he said quietly. The words echoed through the arena's sound system, reaching every ear in the galaxy. "You cannot yield," the tournament officials protested. The humans surrendered first. "The humans taught me something more valuable than victory," Thorak replied, still kneeling. "They showed me that true strength isn't about being better than others. It's about making others better than they could be alone." He looked up at the 5 humans standing around him. "I have been the strongest individual warrior for 3 centuries. But they are stronger than I could ever be, because they are stronger together." The galaxy watched in amazement as Thorak the Undefeated formally conceded the match to the human team, not because they had beaten him in combat, but because they had shown him a better definition of strength. In the aftermath, as medical teams treated the injured and officials tried to determine who had actually won the tournament, something unprecedented happened. Representatives from dozens of species approached the human team requesting training in collective consciousness techniques. The Nexari wanted to understand how individuals could maintain creativity while sharing tactical awareness. The Eternals were fascinated by the concept of voluntary unity that didn't require the loss of self. Even the proud Valkorians admitted they wanted to learn how cooperation could enhance individual strength. Jin Woo stood on the presentation platform beside his 5 athletes, holding a trophy that belonged to both species, human collective consciousness and Valkorian individual honor sharing the victory. "We didn't come here to win a tournament," he told the galactic audience. "We came to show you who we are. Humans are not the strongest or fastest or smartest individuals in the galaxy, but when we work together, when we trust each other completely, we become something greater than any individual could ever be." He gestured to his team. These 5 people taught the galaxy that strength isn't about being better than others. It's about helping others be better than they thought possible. Dr. Zenth published her final report 3 days later. It was downloaded more than any scientific paper in galactic history. "The humans have given us a gift beyond measure. They have shown us that evolution doesn't have to be about individual superiority. It can be about collective growth, mutual support, and shared achievement. They have opened a door to a future where every species in the galaxy can be stronger together than they ever were apart." The tournament ended, but its real impact was just beginning. Schools throughout the galaxy started teaching human-style teamwork. Military organizations studied collective consciousness tactics. Even individual sports began experimenting with team-based approaches. Humanity had entered the galactic sports tournament as the weakest species ever invited. They left it as teachers to an entire galaxy, showing countless civilizations that there was more than one way to be strong. Back on Earth, billions of people watched their representatives return as heroes. Not because they had won, but because they had changed what winning meant. The gala,